welcome to another brand new episode of Dingers and Stingers, the podcast that will take a close division race however we can get it, even if it's the AL West Battle of Mid. I'm Dallas, that's Drew, and that's Matt, and later we will talk about baseball's most exciting division race out in the AL West. We will also take our regular stops at Fan Corner and in our Locked In segment where we'll make some predictions. But first, to start today's show, our MLB show for this week, we are going to talk about the Dodgers once again, because whether they're good or they're bad, it seems like they're the story. And this time around, it's highlighting a big slide from the Dodgers that took place recently. Look, they got right against Colorado, recently this week, but before that, they had series losses to the Diamondbacks. They got swept by the Pirates, and they lost a series to the Orioles all in a row. And there were some really low lows on the way to that. And so what we want to do is we want to talk about, the bad and the good for the Dodgers here as we stand in the second week of September. We know the Dodgers are going to make the postseason. They may very well win their division. They look like they're going to. But there is some bad, there is some good. We want to talk about both. But first, it's just the low point. I mean, we can't not talk about it. Game 2 against the Orioles, Yoshinobu Yamamoto throws 8.2 no-hit innings, and the Dodgers got walked off to lose the game.
This was not a 1-0 game at the time either. It was 3-0.
Yes, they were leading by 3 runs, and they needed 1 out, and they couldn't get it. And look, I mean, we'll get to a little bit of why when we talk about our bad for the Dodgers, but talk about this for a second. How unreal is this kind of thing?
I mean, it's just crazy. It happens, every now and again where a guy gets really, really close to a no-hitter, and then it's broken up in the 8th inning or the 9th inning. And it's a bummer, and it is what it is. I can't remember seeing anything like this before. No. Yamamoto, like you said, 1 out away and gives up a solo home run to Jackson Holliday. So immediately you're like, bummer, he didn't get it, And then there was no more big hits or anything. It was just little, there was a hit by pitch mixed in, some walks.
I was going to say, didn't Treinen come in and walk 2 guys in a row and then, it was just he couldn't control it.
Right, yeah. So, they took Yamamoto out as soon as the no-hitter was over, brought in Blake Treinen. He didn't look sharp, and then they brought in Tanner Scott. He saw 1 hitter, and he got the walk-off hit. But it just... I always, I'll see on social media that there's a no-hitter in progress, and if I don't really care about the outcome, I'll tune in. If I really, if it's a Red Sox guy or something, I can't watch because I believe in the jinx when it matters.
Of course.
But I was I'll tune in. Maybe I'll see, something historic, and I did, but I did not expect it to come like that. It was quite a crazy watch, I'll tell you what.
Has a Japanese-born pitcher ever thrown a no-hitter before? Do we know?
I know Hideo Nomo has.
Okay, Hideo Nomo did. Okay. I was just wondering if it would have been the first time.
Any of the recent guys, I don't think Tanaka ever did. I don't think Darvish had. I think Darvish got really close in one of his early seasons, but I don't think he's thrown one. So yeah, I think only maybe 1.
All right, yeah.
Darvish also had an 8 2/3 innings pitch.
Was that against the Astros back in the day? Can you even see?
Let me see which game it was.
I think it was almost a perfect game. Yeah, it was 1 out away from a perfect game against the Astros, and Marwin Gonzalez hit a single through the pitcher's legs.
Dude, Marwin Gonzalez was a fantasy goat for me.
That's the bummer about being so tall.
One of the biggest trash can benefactors, Marwin Gonzalez.
Well, I didn't know about that. He just played every position.
No, it doesn't matter for fantasy.
No, dude,
I won't strip you of any crown.
About it. Shut up about it, dude. I don't. It's.
We need to call that into question. While we investigate later on Matt's fantasy success in baseball, before we do that, let's talk about the bad and the good for the Dodgers. So we have the guys have gotten together some things for us as the Dodgers will be going into the postseason. What about them worries you from the perspective of them making it to the World Series? Not worries you as a team who could potentially play them. What worries you about the Dodgers? And what makes you optimistic that this will be the low point, and we'll see much better days for the Dodgers going ahead. So we'll start with the bad, and I gave the bad to Matt because I think that it's important for division rivals to get to hate on each other. So I gave the bad to Matt. So let's hear it. What's the bad for the Dodgers right now going into the postseason at the end of the year?
Yeah. So the bad for the Dodgers, when I look at the team and when I kind of think about what's been going wrong for them, I think the main things I think about are, one, this bullpen. We just talked about that. They have 8 2/3, no hit, and somehow get walked off from there. The other thing would be, I think to this point, it would be fair to say maybe they have the worst production out of the corner outfielders of maybe like any team. I mean, Conforto has been garbage. Teoscar Hernandez, who was, this big star for them last year and was a huge reason why they even won the World Series, has not been the same dude this year. And particularly of late has been quite bad. And so I think, the mixture of those two things, you just lose production from the guys you kind of like relied on, right? Like when you have a core built, you need your core to perform. Like they're the foundation of the team. And, we've seen a major fall off from Mookie this year. We see guys like Teoscar Hernandez having this fall off this year. And you get the bullpen, which last year, I'm not going to say they were great or anything, but this year it's been pretty bad, just at least by the numbers. And it seems like every time you look up, they're blowing a save. I saw a funny thing on Twitter the other day where someone showed, the like preview of the Padres versus Dodgers for playoffs, and someone graphed they photoshopped Tanner Scott still on the Padres, but just in his Dodgers uniform. And like that, I think is so like perfectly that's the perfect image of it, because he's been terrible. Like, Padres fans are so upset, and they felt so betrayed by that whole, free agency thing, and he's just been bad. Like, you could argue he's kept us in the division race. And so, yeah, I think those are things that you wouldn't expect from this team, and especially going into playoffs, you would expect them to probably tighten it up, and we'll see if they do. But right now, those seem to be like major weaknesses of theirs that really could come back to bite them.
Yeah, so when you think about the bullpen, I think something that you think about when it comes to the postseason, right, is that some of those, back-end starters in some of these series are going to end up in those roles, right? So that could be an optimistic turn for that side of the equation, I think, for the Dodgers, is that some of these, starters on the back end of the rotation can sub in for some of these guys that are just completely blowing it. Any insights from either of you as to what is going on with Teoscar Hernandez? I think that there is always somebody, who goes crazy in a contract year, endears himself to a franchise. They go for it. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. This year has been a down year for Teoscar Hernandez. Any insight as to why that might be from either of you?
It's hard to say in a game like baseball, man. Like, obviously every year there can be minor things like health and just like stuff that just doesn't feel right physically. Baseball famously, you can get the yips, and sometimes there's just that mental block you have to get over. But I don't know, it's hard when it's a game like baseball where it's not like, you just missed the big play. To be bad in baseball means you were bad repeatedly for probably like a long time, right? And it's like one of those true like slumps. And so I don't know. I mean, Drew maybe has a better answer for this, because I don't know the mentality of a baseball player. I never played growing up, right? So like for me as just an outside fan, it's hard to say, but like I don't know how you go from being so good to so bad, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there could be some kind of mental stuff going on. And I know he did spend some time injured this year, but I think mostly it just might be the skills deteriorating. And it's a reason why the last couple of years he struggled to get that contract that I think a lot of fans expected him to get. Because, he's been a great hitter for several years. Last year with the Dodgers was an excellent year for him. But if you look at the underlying metrics on Baseball Savant, he's always been a huge strikeout guy. He's always been a guy who swings and misses a lot. And now he's 32 years old. So some of those physical skills that, were able to keep him afloat and make him very productive, like bat speed and things like that, they just go down. And if you still have these problems where you swing and miss all the time and you chase pitches, those problems just get exacerbated. We saw it with Javi Baez the last couple of years. I know he kind of had a resurgence this year, but like it's just the type of profile that doesn't age well. And he's never been a very good defender, and he has to play the outfield because Shohei has to play DH. And so, these all these factors go into it, but I think, it could be just a case of a guy is on the wrong side of 30 and his skills are starting to deteriorate a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, as the podcast's resident former right fielder who struggled at the plate, I think can offer a unique perspective in that, sometimes, hopefully for him it'll go better than it did for me down the road where, you just have to, stop at some point. But, I think there's still hopefully a version of Teoscar Hernandez who can contribute here. And the good news, the sort of positive turn for that part for the Dodgers is you don't necessarily, they went into it hoping he would be, number 4 in the lineup. You don't necessarily, when this lineup is healthy, have to put him there. You've got other guys that you can put in that spot, and you can move him back. And, if that's what you got to do, then that's what you got to do. So let's keep the, positive turn going here and wrap up our discussion with the Dodgers around the good about this team and go to Drew for some good for the Dodgers right now.
Yeah, if you're looking for some kind of silver lining, I've got you covered. Matt, you mentioned that Mookie Betts had really been struggling this year. That's true, but in the last month, he's really turned it around. I saw a stat that in the last 30 games, he has 7 home runs and only 8 strikeouts. So, like, putting the bat on the ball, hitting it hard, doing what he used to do all the time, he's kind of found it again. So, couldn't come at a better time for the Dodgers. I know they're still, obviously, the reason we're talking about them is that they have struggled to win baseball games, but they're undoubtedly going to make the playoffs, and you want Mookie hot when you get to that point. Other good news is Max Muncy, who is their best pure power hitter besides Shohei, I think. He's back. He missed some time. That's a bat they definitely want in the lineup. If you mention a guy to slot into the 4 hole, that could be the option because he's very boom or bust. He's home run or strikeout or walk, the 3 true outcome type hitter. But that's the type of guy they can afford to have there. And I mean that's what Kyle Schwarber is, and Kyle Schwarber is obviously better, but no one would complain about him hitting top 4 in the lineup. And of course, they always have Shohei Ohtani. He's probably going to win another MVP because that's just how we do things now. And the starters have been healthy, and they've been playing a little bit better of late. You can kind of see the playoff rotation form that they kind of hoped they would have. There's been a ton of injuries for them this year, but Yamamoto has been good. Kershaw at age 37 has pitched pretty well this year. And you got Blake Snell back, and he's kind of been up and down this year. And Glasnow, another guy he threw. They took him out, but what was it, like 7 no-hit innings?
Right, 7. Yeah.
The other day, so he's looking strong as well. And he missed their playoff run last year. So did Kershaw. Blake Snell was not even on the team, so like that could all be big. And then the last piece I'll touch on is Roki Sasaki is coming back, which I kind of thought he wouldn't this year, to be honest, but he's
Yeah.
been making rehab appearances. They started off not good, but his last one was really good, and the velocity was up again. And that'll be big for them. Maybe he can put together some good starts for them down the stretch here. But I think those four guys I just mentioned would be their playoff rotation. And I think, Dallas, you kind of alluded to this, putting in the bullpen, these struggling starters or these back end starters could help the struggling bullpen. And Roki Sasaki is the perfect candidate because if you just let him go an inning or two and he can just air it out, who knows how hard he can throw. If as long as he's hitting in spots and stuff, that could be a really dangerous weapon for the Dodgers in the playoffs. So this is not the season we expected from them at all. And it's funny. And, especially if they end up not winning the division, it'll be funny.
Right.
But at the same time, I still would not want to face them in the playoffs. They've done it. They've been there. They've won. And they still have a roster that kind of scares you, So that's my take on the Dodgers.
Yeah, the intimidation factor is still certainly there. When you roll up as a road team, as I'm sure someone will be, or maybe not, I'm sure, but, as someone could be a road team, you roll up to that stadium with those guys facing on the other side. It's really scary. And yes, it would be nice if, we'll talk about this maybe more in Fan Corner later, but it would be nice if during that skid someone could have taken advantage. But unfortunately, Dodgers still 3-game lead as of the moment. So we'll keep an eye on that as it goes on. But now we turn our attention to the American League, and we will talk about the wild race in the AL West. So I think way back in our division previews, we talked about how this division could be close in the way that like all these teams could be like as okay as each other, and I think we're starting to see that play out a little bit. It took a little while to get there, and it looked like the Astros were head and shoulders above, teams like the Mariners and the Rangers. But as of lately, the Rangers have been surging, the Mariners have been keeping pace, and so now we find ourselves in a situation where the Astros are, as of today, up a half game. As of the very moment we're talking, they're up a half game. And then the Mariners are in second behind that half game, and then the Rangers behind now only one and a half or two games behind the Astros. So a tight race there. And so, look, what we want to do on this segment here is instead of like predicting who we think is going to make it out of this division as the winner, we want to try to make a case for each team to win the division. Because with teams are so close like this, there should be a case to be made for everybody. So let's make a case for all of these AL West teams to win the division, team by team. And we're going to start with Drew and start with the Astros, who are currently in the league.
Yeah, the Astros, I think the best argument for them winning this division is that they've been winning this division all year. So obviously they are not, we've talked about it at length, they are not the Astros from years past that were this juggernaut that went to the ALCS every year, but they've managed to win despite that. And they've been one of the most injured teams, and that is still going on. They still have new injury news popping up, it seems like every day, but they've managed to stay afloat despite all that. And we thought Isaac Paredes was done for the year. Well, he's starting to do some baseball activities, and he could be back right at the end of the season, and then be a boost for their lineup come playoffs. And at the end of the day, there's just the different faces and all that, but the Astros are a been there, done that team, and so I think that can't be discounted. Obviously, playoffs are kind of a different animal. Anything can happen, but there's still, I take, like, if there's a close race, I tend to give the advantage to the team that has I've seen do it before, and that's the Astros. The remaining schedule, 5 more series. They're going to Atlanta to play the Braves. Not been good. Um, and then they have the Rangers and the Mariners back to back,
Mm.
but both at home. And so I think that's an advantage for them. Obviously, those are going to be massive series. And then they finish it off on a little road trip to the A's and to the Angels, both of whom, are not the best teams that we've seen. So I like how the schedule is set up for them. The fact that they currently have the lead is helpful, and they could get a little bit of reinforcement coming up soon.
Yeah. Any additional Astros thoughts from you, Matt?
No, I mean, I like what, I didn't know about the Isak Paredes news. So, I mean, the fact that they are going to potentially be getting him back, they may be able to, they're just got Jordan back, stuff like that. Like, those are just as big as any acquisition any team makes, right? Like, they talk about that sometimes for teams, after the trade deadline. It's like when you get a player healthy who's supposed to be one of your best, like, that is just as important, if not more so, than a big trade acquisition. So the fact that they're getting these guys back is huge. And obviously, like, it's like you said, man, like they've had the lead the whole time, it seems like. It's like the Chiefs effect, it's their division until proven otherwise.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a very salient point. It's like we can bet on it, and if you're going to bet on it, I'd say bet on the Astros. I think, and um, so let's move now to the team in second place, and that would be the Seattle Mariners, and go to Matt for the case for the Mariners to make that leap and win the division.
Yeah, so, I mean, I just said, like, just getting people back healthy is bigger than potentially any trade acquisitions. The Mariners, they're banking on the trade acquisitions, right? Like, they were a solid team. They were going to rely on their pitching. They were going to rely on having, just good, solid defense, all that. But then they went out and they acquired basically the two biggest names at position players, for each respective position, with Suarez, with Naylor. Naylor's looked awesome there. Suarez has been pretty solid there. Like, I think when I look at this race, and being one game back, half game back, I don't know. Obviously, it's too early for us to say if the Mariners are winning tonight or not. But
I don't think so.
That's you don't think so?
I think you can say they're going to win tonight.
I see. But yeah, I look at that team and it's like they, in my opinion, did the most when it comes to, between the three teams at least, when it comes to like, hey, we see an opportunity here, we see a window, let's actually go after it and, push. Like, let's push in. Let's push in the chips. And they didn't end up having to push that many chips in, but they got good to great players back. So when I look at that, I'm like, of these three teams, I would argue they're the most improved team, at least in season. And so I think that absolutely gives them a shot, Like, they've got a very deep lineup. Their pitchers, albeit the numbers are not as good as last year, are still good pitchers. Like, there's a lot of teams that would be very, very happy to have their rotation. So I think they still absolutely have a chance. And again, it's the margin here is razor thin. Like, it only takes one bad weekend and it could be a totally different division. So when the margins are that thin, this is a team that I think has done a lot to improve themselves.
All right. Any additional Mariners thoughts from Drew?
Yeah, I do think deep down that the Mariners are the best team of these three. They just don't play like it always, and so they're very frustrating because they go on these streaks. Like, they just like destroyed the Braves a couple times in a row, and then they lose a lot of games, and it's like a big part of why the Rangers are so close now is because the Mariners have been slipping. But yeah, I agree with everything Matt said. I still think this is a rotation you don't want to face in the playoffs, and just to note their remaining schedule, it's 4 against the Angels starting tonight, and then 3 in Kansas City against a Royals team that I think is still kind of trying to fight. Um, you know, we'll see,
Yeah,
but
a
they're
little
not
bit.
going to roll over. And then that aforementioned series in Houston, and then they finish with 6 at home, 3 against the Rockies and 3 against the Dodgers. So,
Mm.
uh, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag. You got some tough matchups in there, but we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out.
The last series of the season being against an NL team is kind of interesting to me, schedule wise, because like it could really not matter for the Dodgers, and it really could be like they're not playing anybody, and the Mariners can kind of have a real like it's right there in front of them to win the division, maybe in that case. Although you've mentioned that the
Mm.
Astros last series is against the Athletics, right? Is the last one of theirs you mentioned,
I think
or the
the
Angels?
Angels. Yeah,
Not
the
that it really
Angels.
matters.
The
Not that it
Angels.
matters like which one it was, but just to get it factually correct. But they so we could have like a thing of like whoever's leading going into those series just wins the division because they win all those games. So it'll be interesting to watch that last week. But before we move on, let's give the case for the Texas Rangers, who have been surging as of late. I think that kind of started with their series against the Angels a couple weeks ago. They scored 20 runs in one of those games, and so kind of got some confidence back a little bit. So let's make a case for the Rangers and go back to Drew for that.
Yeah, the Rangers, they've kind of been the team that I think a lot of people thought should have been better.
Yeah.
Like not like the Mariners, it's like, why aren't you better? The Rangers, it's like your record should literally be better based on like all these other factors. And so yeah, they have easily the best run differential of these 3 teams. They're at plus 91, and that's actually top 4 in the American League. And they've got some other health news coming up. Tyler Mahle has started his rehab assignment, which is big for them. Evaldi is out for the year. That's a huge bummer because he was pitching so good, and we've seen him in the playoffs. We know he can
Yeah.
be a dominant
An
force
animal.
there.
Yeah.
But they've got Jacob deGrom, of course. They've got Merrill Kelly, been pitching well since the deadline, and Jack Leiter has been pitching well also. So if you add Tyler Mahle to the mix, that's a pretty good playoff rotation. They've been surging lately without Corey Seager, Evan Carter, and Marcus Semien, who, granted, those last 2 have not been having great years prior to getting hurt, but like that, they were fully expected to be contributing members of this team. So I think it's worth mentioning. Also, those last 2 are not going to be back this year, but Corey Seager is also on the comeback trail. I believe they're trying to get him back before playoffs. And another guy, we've seen him come through in the clutch time and time again. I mean, 2 World Series MVPs. I think he's the only person to ever do that. So, and just to, link this whole thing together, their remaining schedule after sweeping the Brewers, by the way, they have they go to New York to play the Mets, who have been just tanking, and then they go to Houston, and then they're home against the Marlins, home against the Twins, and then they go to Cleveland to play the Guardians. So those last 3 series, they should really be able to clean up and make up some ground. And so yeah, if I'm one of these teams, hell, I'm the Red Sox right now, 4 games up on the Rangers. Like we're in the second wild card spot.
Mhm.
I'm a little nervous about them. They're playing
Mm-hmm.
well at the right time, and they've got a nice little schedule to end the season. So keep your eye on them.
Yeah, could certainly see, all three of these teams that we talked about being in that playoff picture by season's end for sure. And so, it's just a matter of, can one get hot while the others sort of, take a slide is the question here. But any additional Rangers thoughts from Matt before we move on?
No, I mean truly the only thought I have is
Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Can you guys hear
Oh,
me?
Yeah.
I can
You
now.
just cut out for a
Okay.
second, but you're back.
Yeah, weird to cut out. My only thought when it comes to that type of stuff is like I look at the actual player who Corey Seager is, right? And you kind of mentioned it and his accolades and stuff, but it's like having those types of special players that do come alive during playoffs gives any team a chance, and not just playoffs, but like clutch moments, right?
Hmm.
And it gives any team a chance. I would argue Corey Seager's as clutch or more clutch than any player on either of the other teams.
Mhm.
In a big moment, probably of the Astros, Mariners, Rangers, I'm taking a healthy Corey Seager. Um, that's just how I feel about it. And I think that matters, like having players that are built for the moment matters. And I believe they have that. So that's my thought on the Rangers. I predicted them to win the division. So if this somehow turns out that they win, Mariners make the wild card and the Astros are out, my prediction's golden, and we're real close to it. So
Yeah, that is also a world that I think, everyone on this show might want to speak into existence. Is there is a world right now where the Astros and the Yankees both, fall out of the picture here, with, the Mariners and Rangers making it into it, one way or the other. So, there's a world
and
where
they
that
did. They
happens,
just
and
they just got complete game shutout by Kevin Gosman today.
who's to say, what will happen from here? But we'll
Well, we
definitely
would
keep our
need
eyes on it.
the Guardians or the Royals to really lock in for both of them to miss the playoffs,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But
Well,
stranger
let's
things have
do it.
happened.
Here's to hoping.
Hmm.
Yeah. What last thing on the Rangers? Drew was talking about how like you literally should have more wins. Their expected win loss is 7 games above what they have right now. So it's really they would be if they won.
Would they be
You know,
first place?
Hmm.
yeah, by a lot, they would be first place if expected win loss happened. So, that's just a note backing that up. But let's move forward now in the show to our next stop, which is Fan Corner, which is our segment where we get to fan out a little bit. We love to talk about the entire league and talk about what everyone's talking about, but at the core of what we are fans too. So let's talk about our teams for a second. And start with the Red Sox in Boston with Drew.
Yeah, well, we didn't have a baseball episode last week, so I would have brought this up
True.
last week, but like I said, we didn't have one. But yeah, the big news that really was a gut punch is that Roman Anthony strained his oblique and is out for 4 to 6 weeks. He that was on Saturday, I believe that happened, so it's been almost a week.
Hmm.
Um, or wait, I don't know. I'm getting mixed up, but that's the big news. And honestly, like for a minute, I was really like, well, the season's over because he's been carrying the offense basically since he came up, and he's been so good. And the pitching has kind of like really carried us, and then he's been carrying the offense, and the pitching has kind of slipped a little bit lately, and we've had injuries, and I'll get to the pitching in just a second, but I really thought we might not even make the playoffs, even with our lead that we had and everything. I've kind of turned around on that just based on the the fact that a Red Sox have been resilient this year. There's been a lot of weird ups and downs. They survived the Bregman injury. They survived the Raffy trade. Um, so, I'm not going to count them out. Um, and I was encouraged when I was researching the AL West. It's like, oh, all these teams that are like behind them or right around them are all playing each other. And so someone's going to win those games, someone's going to lose those games, and that that helps these other teams in the hunt, like the
Yeah.
Red Sox and Yankees. We do play the Yankees this weekend in Boston. It's a good pitching matchup weekend for us, so like hopefully we can just take care of business against them again. And it's crazy. We've talked so much about how bad the American League is. It's honestly, it's all of baseball this year. It's so mid. Like the
Mm-hmm.
best of the best teams, I'm still not like, oh, you're like a
Mhm.
flawless team. You're definitely going to win the World Series. Um, the Red Sox are like, I'm talking about being all scared of the wild card. We're only, what is it, 3 games behind the Blue Jays? 3.5 games behind the Blue Jays for first place in the division and the best record in the American League. So it's like, despite everything, this is where we're at. We do have a series against the Blue Jays next week as well, or in a couple weeks. So the schedule's a little tough for us, but like I said, other teams playing each other. And then the weird random thing that's been going on with all this, the injuries and the bad pitching performances, we're just getting like an electric uh, pitching debut every couple weeks
Yeah.
now. Peyton Tolley was a couple weeks ago, matched up against Paul Skeens. We ended up losing that game, but he pitched really well. And then on Tuesday, it was this guy Connolly Early. So two guys that really, if everything went to plan, would not have sniffed the big leagues this year. Um, but he came up, he pitched 5 shutout innings and got 11 strikeouts. So like these, I'm not gonna say slot him in for game one of a wild card series, but like if we need a four starter come playoffs, I think we can build one in the aggregate with these young guys. Like give them a few innings each.
Yeah.
We'll see, but
Red Sox
so
wanted to
that's
go Moneyball. Where have I seen it before?
so that's been like kind of the fun thing keeping us Red Sox fans afloat. Um, we're we're winning one, losing one, winning two, losing two. That's kind of how it's going right now. But um, I think I still feel confident. There's only like 2 weeks left in the season.
Mm.
I feel confident that we won't, not that necessarily we'll take care of business, but we won't do bad enough to to get out of the playoffs at this point. I mean, famous last words, anything can happen, but um, that's how I'm feeling right now. And then once you get to the playoffs, who knows when Roman Anthony can come back? It'll be with no rehab, but he kind of went into God mode this year anyway. That I kind of trust him. But yeah, anything can happen in the playoffs, so you just got to get there.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I mean, dude, I was gonna say, I mean, just to segue straight in, the motto of just gotta make it to playoffs is, I think, where the Padres have been for 2 months. Like, we had such a hot start and then have been one of the most underperforming, just like mid teams since then. We win enough games to stay afloat, but like this entire season has felt like just this big tease where it's like every time we've had the chance to finally just like slam the door, take the division, do all this stuff, we just go into another slump. And, at this point, I wrote on the notes, like, I've settled on my expectations for the season, which is that we are going to go to Wrigley for our wild card game. We are not going to surpass the Cubs. We are not going to beat the Dodgers for the division. That's okay. Because at the end of the day, like you said, just got to make playoffs. Anything can happen come playoffs. And, we're just got Michael King back for what feels like the first time in forever. He had that one start against the Red Sox and was instantly out again. But he looked good. He played well, and apparently he feels good. So it's looking like he'll be back for us, which is so huge. We had that streak of, I think it was like 5 or 6 straight starts where we didn't have a pitcher go past like 4 innings for a starter, and it's just brutal stuff when you can't get length out of your starters. So getting him back, that'll be huge. And at this point, my biggest concern is, I mean, we don't have any consistency on offense. Like we are really streaky. Some games we'll have like 12 hits, 8 runs, and then the next game we get shut out with 2 hits. And it'll be against a worse pitcher too. Like it just feels like there's no consistency. Um, Mike Schill for all the good he's done for us, makes really questionable decisions personnel wise and kind of lineup construction wise. We have the worst production in MLB out of our two hole because he refuses to move Luis Ariz down the lineup. But at the same time, he refuses to remove Luis Ariz from the lineup when we have guys outperforming him off the bench. We go out and trade all these prospects to get Ryan O'Hearn, and Ryan O'Hearn is basically only hitting against righties, even though his splits against lefties have been good this year. So there's just all sorts of stuff, but at the end of the day, just got to get to playoffs. And if we're in playoffs, good luck. We've got a electric playoff stadium, and when the time comes, he hasn't been great this year, but I still trust you, Darvish, to come out and pitch a game. I still trust, that we're going to have awesome defense. Jackson Merrill, Tatis, Machado, like we've got the talent. Come playoffs, I'm just going to hope that it comes through.
Yeah, and that's all you can do, for in your guys'
Yeah.
case, like come playoffs, you hope that the positive case settles out for your teams. And, like Drew was saying, like there's a lot, like every team that's going to make the playoffs this year has ways you can beat them.
Yeah.
And so it'll be a very interesting postseason, to say the least, this year so far. So, guys, some of these teams that were, very dominant at different points during the year. You think about the Cubs, you think about the Brewers, you think about even the Dodgers at points. Like they've all shown that they can go on slides, and if you catch them on the wrong day, they can drop. And so, it'll be a very interesting thing. And I think both of your teams are in perfectly good positions to take advantage of some of those if you run up against a team in a bad way. But speaking of teams that are in a bad way, I'll touch on the Angels a little bit here. It's been a while since we did a fan corner. Last week we did our live episode during the first game of the year for NFL, so we didn't talk too much baseball. But in that a couple weeks since we talked last, the last time we had an episode where we did fan corner, I had banned the Angels from fan corner. They were in fan corner timeout because they allowed 20 runs to the Rangers and lost that game by 17. Well, they allowed 12 or more runs twice since then, and so I figure I can't keep them in timeout forever. I thought they might learn their lesson. They did not. Keeping them out of fan corner on Dingers and Stingers obviously doesn't have any impact on the clubhouse morale or energy. It was not bulletin
I don't
board.
know, man.
It was not bulletin board material, as much as I would have liked it to be. But yeah, so they're in really one of the worst skids of the year from a run differential perspective, from a just competitive perspective, like being competitive in games. They did just win the series against the Twins, the last series they played, but that was the first positive in a while. You've got Mike Trout, who was kind of on a cakewalk to 400 at the start of the year, might not get it, question mark, like holding it 398 for about, I think it's like 28 games now.
It's like 150 plate appearances, right?
Yeah, hasn't had a homer, and I think 28 games now. If he doesn't homer today, it'll be 29. That is the longest streak of his career without a homer. And so it's very weird. It was kind of like, like when that happened in early August, it was like, oh well, at least that'll be a good thing to celebrate here in like the middle of August, end of August sometime. And now we're here in the second week of September, and it still hasn't happened yet, and might not this year. I don't know. So I would like to see that happen this year. That would be a nice capstone for the season.
No chance he hits 2 tower shots tonight, right?
I mean, he is playing in Seattle, where he loves to hit home runs, and so he's got 4 games, including the one going on right now in Seattle, and so he does love to hit home runs there. So he might hit 2 this weekend. Who's to say? Yeah, so that's just like, I wish that would have come faster, but hopefully it comes this year. But like, and then yesterday, Reed Detmers, who sort of, has been one of the more reliable pieces of the Angels bullpen, left the game yesterday after his velocity dipped during his appearance. Left elbow inflammation is the word. So Who knows when the next time we're going to see Reed Detmers is? Will it be in an Angels uniform? I have no idea. Depending on how that turns out, is he going to need another surgery? I hope not, but I don't know. So that was not a good thing to have happen. But it's kind of one of those things where you take a look at what's going on, and you're like, Adele, Ward, probably Neto, and Adele, Ward, and probably Neto are all going to hit 30 or more home runs this year. Adele and Ward are already there. Neto is at 26, and so he might get to 30. But if you had told me that at the beginning of the year, I'd be like, and Mike Trout would play a full season, I'd be like, oh my gosh, like we might be like on the bottom end of the wild card race. Like we might get somewhere. But it just hasn't worked out that way. One of those things where you just look back and you go, man, where did it all go wrong? And you point to the pitching. That's what happens. The biggest reason for the slide in the last couple of weeks has been some starters have finally gotten injured. Like the Angels had one of the healthiest rotations in baseball for like ever this season. And some starters finally started to go down. Tyler Anderson among them, and so that's not helped the last couple of weeks. But so the Angels, they'll especially playing these teams that are going to be competing really hard. I don't imagine they'll rack up too many wins over the course of the next couple of weeks, but love to be surprised by that. So that's the Angels. That's where we're at.
If you told me that what it was Ward, Adele, and Neto would be around 30 bombs, Trout would play a full season. I'm going to add one more thing. You have the same exact record as the Baltimore Orioles on September 11th. I would have been like, dang, good season, Angels. No, it's the same season. They keep having.
Think. Yeah, it's definitely coming up on 11 years of Groundhog Day. For sure.
Hey, still not 100 losses in a season.
Still haven't done it. Still not triple-digit losses. That's right. Never the basement. Always like the unfurnished spare bedroom on the mid-level is where the Angels are. Never the basement. But okay, so let's move on from Fan Corner and go into our Locked In segment where we make some predictions for the next week of play. So we'll start with Drew, and we'll start with checking in on your prediction from the last time we made predictions, and then talk about your prediction for this week.
Yeah, I'm going to count my last one as an L. I said that the Mariners would take sole possession of first place in the AL West. As we've talked about, hasn't happened, can't happen by now anyway, and that was supposed to be for last week, it didn't happen last week. But they can if they win tonight, which they are winning already 4-0 in the second, I believe.
Correcto.
If they hold on and win, they will be tied with the Astros for first place. So if that happens, I'll take a half point for whoever out there is keeping track. But my prediction this week is that a new team enters the playoff picture for the first time in a long time. For a long time, it felt like we just knew who the playoff teams were going to be. It's just a matter of the order. But in the last couple weeks, things have heated up on both sides. There are some compelling division races like we talked about, but I think more likely it'll be in the wild card. The Rangers have a chance, of course, against the Mariners. I do think that the Mariners and Astros, well, let's see. The Mariners have the Angels, so I have a lot of faith that the Mariners will not lose their playoff spot. The Astros have the Braves, so I feel good about them too. So I'm going to go to the National League. I'm going to say the Reds, who play, I believe, I just looked it up. They play the A's or something. They play a not very good team. And then the Rangers play the Mets. I think the Reds could sneak in and surpass the Mets this week, they've just been in a tailspin. The Giants have been super hot lately as well. They play the Dodgers this weekend. That could be massive for the Giants, for the Padres, for the Dodgers, for everyone if the Giants stay hot. But I just, anytime there's a rivalry week, I can't fully get behind it. As we've seen, my predictions in that arena don't end well always. So I'm gonna say the Reds are the most likely team, but I'm counting it as a dub if any new team is in the playoff picture.
Right on.
Chat, let it be known, I predicted that exact prediction 2 weeks ago. It did not come true, though.
True. Yes.
It's all about
Yeah.
timing.
That's the
It
secret to a
really
great
is, man.
prediction.
I'd have such a better win-loss record in this segment if I just knew when things were happening.
If you just counted them for all time, you'd have so many just from trades.
Yeah, yeah. A trade will happen. A trade will happen. So many trades have happened in the time since you predicted those. Um, so true. But let's not dwell on predictions of old for too long. Let's do it for a little bit longer and talk about, go to Matt, talk about your prediction from the last time we had predictions done, and then your prediction for the coming week.
Yeah, mine is less of a controversy. It's a pretty flat L this week. Not only did I predict Luis Ariz would get hot and he start getting right, he was effectively benched a little bit this week for not getting right and not getting hot. So we take it. It's an L and we move on. My prediction, and I didn't know the score of this game before I made this prediction. My prediction this week is that Big Dumper, Cal Rowley, is going to break the switch hitting home run record for the season. He was, I think, one behind it, two from breaking it. If I'm not mistaken, I think the record was like 54 and he was at 53. Um,
Yes, he's at 53, and yeah, Mickey Mantle has the record at 54.
Yeah, so I mean, who knows if he breaks it against the Angels? My condolences. But I believe in the next week he will hit two more minimum, and he will officially take that season record as well.
All right, there you go. Well, we'll take a look at Big Dumper's week next week when we record and see where we're at there. Um, but let's go ahead and wrap up our MLB show for this week with our Dingers and Stingers. This is our segment where the guys will give us one good thing, one dinger from the world of sports, and one bad thing, one stinger from the world of sports from the last week. So this is kind of where we open it up a little bit. We can include all sports here and talk about what's made you happy and what's made you not so happy, or that stung a little bit from the last week. So let's start with the stingers, as we always do, and start with Drew.
Yeah, my stinger this week, this is kind of I guess, less of a pure stinger and more of a bittersweet kind of thing. But Anthony Rizzo announced his retirement officially. He hasn't played for anyone this year, so it's not a big shock. But it's just every now and again, and it happens more and more as time passes, there's players that retire that I'm like, damn, I'm old. I'm an old person now. Because Anthony Rizzo doesn't feel that long ago. He was like the young, exciting new first baseman with the Cubs, and he helped them break the curse. He's a player I really liked for a long time, and then he joined the Yankees, so I had to abstain for a little bit. But I mean, good for him, Dinger in that sense. Like he had a great career,
Yep.
right off into the sunset by all means. But just a stinger because it makes me a little sad that guys that I watched for a long time are no longer playing, and then also his whole situation. Like I think he's an example of the type of player that maybe could have kept playing, but sacrificed doing that for future players because he wouldn't take like a vet minimum kind of salary, and said, you know what, I don't want to set a precedent that that's what players of my caliber will sign for, so I'm just not going to sign. And it's just the business of baseball sometimes, or of sports in general. But it would have been cool to see him get to play this year on, the Pirates or something. I don't know. Um,
Yep.
and so, good luck to him and whatever comes next. But that's my stinger.
Yeah, he seemed in good spirits when he was at the Yankee game last night. There was that, they cut to him on the big board, and he, he took a big old drink of the beer he was having and looked like he was having a good time. So, I'm sure he's, thrilled with the decision and thrilled with the career because it was pretty good. Yeah. Anybody who was up and like maybe had arrived, but just barely, but like was up and coming when I was in college, retiring. It makes me feel pretty ancient, pretty old.
It's tough.
And
It's
so,
tough.
yeah, it's tough news to see. But let's keep it going and flip over to Matt for your stinger for this week.
Yeah, I'm a little football based this week, but my stinger for the week is that Red Zone has officially ruined the integrity of its own game. Um, and granted, not by a lot, but I saw a perfect comparison. It's like imagine if Arizona iced teas went from 99 cents to like $1.50. Really, you wouldn't see the difference that much, and at the end of the day, it would still piss you off. Like it would
The
still,
Costco hot dog was $3 all of a sudden.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's just one of those things. Like it, this was never meant to be what it's going to now start to become. It was built to be something different, and there was ways for them to gain sponsorship or ad revenue, whatever they wanted after ESPN bought it. There's ways for them to do it without ruining what it is that makes Red Zone what it is. And they failed to do that. And despite Scott Hansen's best attempts to kind of mend the bridge with that video he put out, it's not enough for me to fully forgive. I don't care that it's exactly 1 minute in a 8-hour show. It's supposed to be
Principle.
0 minutes. It's supposed to be 0 minutes. So unfortunately, I am an early bird purchaser of Red Zone, so I was not able to riot and protest this year. But NFL and ESPN, you watch out next year. You might lose a Red Zone subscription.
And that would be, I mean, look, and we're of course talking about, if it wasn't clear, we're talking about Red Zone putting some ads into the broadcast for the first time ever. Now that ESPN has bought them. Yes,
Yep.
that was. I watched a little bit of Red Zone, and I paid to watch it for
Mhm.
sure. And so I watched some, and I mean, it felt a little bit, strange to see even the picture-in-picture kind of
It
ads for
just it
sure.
cheapened the
Yeah.
experience. Like it really feels like it cheapened the experience. Red Zone used to be such a cool, unique thing, and even them dual boxing in the ad, I was like, well, like that sucked. Like there's no way around it. That sucked.
I would have more so even trusted like Scott Hansen to be given ad copy and like worked it in a
Like a
funny way.
podcast.
Yeah. Like I would have more trusted that than to show the actual like video ads, like stuff like that. Like give him the ad copy and have him be like, oh, that stiff arm was as cold as a blizzard from DQ, like or whatever. I would have liked I would have trusted that more than the video ads, and that would have been
100%.
a better way to do it. I think because I
Dallas, we
I would
gotta
100%.
trust
get
them.
you in. We gotta get you on Madison Avenue right in these commercials.
I know, I know. I need to be an ad writer. But that's going to be my career jump is I'll go into advertising and take commercials back to the old slogans, the really, really, on the nose stuff. But let's end with the good, and let's talk about your dingers for the week and bounce back to Drew for yours.
Yeah, my dinger for this week. It is a football-centric dinger. Uh, the Denver Broncos announced, was it yesterday or 2 days ago,
I heard
that
about it yesterday.
they're going to be building a new facility, a brand new stadium in Denver. Uh, the cool thing is, because it should be this way always, but especially when you have the richest owners in professional sports, I believe, the Walton family. Um, there, no taxpayer money whatsoever will be going to the stadium. I don't think tax dollars should ever go to a sports facility for a team like that. I mean, for like a public use, sure, but um, so that's my little soapbox for the day. But um, it should be cool. It's going to have a retractable roof, so you can still play on nice days with the roof open. And then, the what I saw, yeah, I get some people's take is you shouldn't have a roof. Football is supposed to be a sport that you can play in the elements. That's all fine and good, but nowadays you want more. You want to be able to host a Super Bowl. You need a roof to do that. You want to be able to host a, March Madness tournament. You have to have a roof to be able to do that. So this is gonna, let the Broncos be more of a player in these big events outside of just their home football games. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have long wanted them to like find some way to add a retractable roof to Lumen Field in Seattle. I do not think I should have to watch 6 to 3 games when it's pouring rain. It makes me sick. I should get to still see 27, 24, even if it's pouring rain outside. And so I'm with the all new stadiums, give them a retractable roof. You can still open it up whenever you can, but close that when it's snowing out because I don't want to see it. And so, yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it. But that's good news for sure. Okay, so let's
Yeah.
go to Matt for your dinger this week as well.
Yeah, mine's similarly again, just a little homer effect, but the Rams started 1-0, and we had a tough test against the Texans here, and I saw a stat teams that start 1-0 make playoffs about 60-ish% of the time on a season versus teams that don't, finishing in the playoffs usually in like the 35 to 40% range. So it's a pretty significant bump, even just getting that one first game. So you know, uh, we won. That's really it. Like, you guys will come to learn. We started this podcast at the end of last football season. More so even than how mad and frustrated the Padres make me, the Rams will affect the quality of person that I am. And so when the Rams are doing good, old Matty here is doing good too.
Yeah, I don't even care about winning in week 1, honestly. It doesn't even matter really. Like, you
Well,
don't
it's
have
not
to.
that big of a swing, I guess.
Tune
Yeah,
in
like,
to our next episode to hear why Dallas is so mad.
yeah, well, I don't care about winning in week
Yeah,
one because it doesn't
the
even really
first
matter.
segment. Why is Dallas mad this week in NFL
That's the
news?
new intro segment to our football episodes is why is Dallas mad?
Sponsored
Why was
by
Dallas so mad at
DQ.
the end of the? Yeah.
Um, but yeah, definitely a good dinger. Always opening up the season with a win. It feels good every single time. Feels good. So alrighty, that'll do it for this week's MLB show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube. Let us know in the comments who you think has the best chance to win the AL West and why. Also, let us know perhaps a dinger and a stinger from your week. We'd love to hear it. And make sure to follow us on Instagram at Dingers and Stingers, and stay tuned later this week for our football episode where we recap week 1. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And until we, air that episode, we will see you then. Take care and goodbye.
Like,